Hi there. I'd like to talk about a rather serious issue. Our planet, our home, may be under threat.
What planet am I on?
Earth.
Earth? Terrible name for a planet. Might as well call it Dirt. Planet Dirt.
Have you noticed lately that there seem to be a lot of climate change documentaries about? Well, I have. So I thought I would take a look at them and see what they're all about. I've now watched a few of these, but the ones I will be discussing in this video are I Am Greta, about climate activist Greta Thunberg. You may have heard of her. Planet of the Humans, about the development of renewable energy and its effects on climate. And Kiss the Ground, about soil desertification and regenerative farming. Links to all these documentaries can be found in the description below. If you like this video, click the like button, and if you want to see more like it, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload another video. My name is Dennis, and I have been an engineer in the electricity industry and heavy industries in the UK and New Zealand for over 30 years. So I've got a bit of experience on climate change and the electricity industry and engineering, and understand most of it.
People always tell us that young people are going to save the world.
Firstly, I watched I Am Greta. This is focused on what she did rather than the science behind why she did it. So it showed a very weak argument, in my opinion, for climate change. She travelled from her homeland in Sweden around Europe and then to New York to speak at various climate change summits.
There is simply not enough time to wait.
The fallout from climate change.
The impacts could be catastrophic.
All of this with the global warming, it's a hoax.
It is the most pressing issue of our time.
You have to go to school.
When it came to the climate crisis, I saw my parents were just like everyone else. We weren't doing enough. For many years, people refused to listen to me. Children were very mean. But I don't care about being popular. I care about climate justice.
She felt she had to do something, and she had to do it on her own.
So she was vilified for her efforts by the media. She's still protesting for climate change action every Friday with her school strikes and hashtag Fridays for Future. She also has a website, www.fridaysforfuture.de. The second documentary I watched was Planet of the Humans. This described the development of sustainable energy generation options, including wind, solar, and biofuels. As an engineer, I was hoping this would be the most interesting of the three documentaries for me. But as an electrical engineer says during the documentary, wind and solar are really just top-up technology for baseload supply. This has been common knowledge in the electricity supply industry, I can tell you, for many years on a worldwide basis.
There's a lot of developers that were flocking to California wanting to connect their solar farms and wind farms. The utilities would turn to me and my team to help them look at what the impact to their grid would be.
When we add solar cells or wind turbines to a grid, do we get to shut off a coal plant?
That's certainly the goal. The problem is, or the difference is, that renewables are intermittent. All of a sudden a cloud cover could come over and your solar generation could drastically decrease. And if you don't have something else there to meet whatever the load is at that moment, then you're going to have power outages.
So we don't get to turn a fossil fuel power plant off when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing?
Well, it's not that easy. We need to be able to back up that power to keep the system steady all the time so it doesn't collapse. Most likely that's through fast-acting gas plants, but also what we call the baseload plants, either nuclear or coal, that are on all the time, but that maybe can be dialed down during the day and dialed up when demand starts rising.
Does it affect the efficiency to turn fossil fuel power plants on and off?
Oh yeah, they don't like to be dialed up and down. It does make That's wear and tear for them.
Turning them on, turning it off, there's energy used and lost in any time. Kind of like when you turn on your car and off, you use a little extra gas to get it turned on. I do still think you have to maintain a base load of some kind.
The documentary concludes that green energy such as wind, solar and biofuels is installed as a response to public demand and exploited by big business, but the whole of life impacts on the environment to create these solutions and use them is actually worse than if we just installed cleaner coal options, as the green options have to be backed up by coal, gas or oil baseload. It was disappointing for me as New Zealand wasn't mentioned as an example of where hydro, geothermal, wind and solar are about 80% used. So I found the documentary didn't really cover every aspect as it should have done. So as I said, disappointingly, New Zealand wasn't mentioned as an example of where hydro, geothermal, wind and solar are about 80% of electricity generation sources, with just over half from hydropower to provide the base load. So during the latter part of this documentary, they discussed why things have got so bad so quickly and show a curve for population growth over the last 200 years. Stating that perhaps some kind of limits should be introduced globally on family size to slow the growth of global population. I'm not sure how this will go across. It's quite radical.
It took modern humans tens of thousands of years to reach a population of 700 million. And then we tapped into millions of years of stored energy known as fossil fuels. Our human population exploded. It increased by 10 times in a mere 200 years. Our consumption has also exploded, on average 10 times per person, and many times more in the Western world. You put the two together, the result is a total human impact 100 times greater than only 200 years ago.
The documentary seems to conclude that big business and politicians care more about profits than the environment and people. This sounds familiar, i.e. some countries' approach to the COVID-19, just saying. The last scenes appear to show an orangutan dying from the effects of man's climate destruction. Overall, I would say this documentary does not fully address this issue and options available, and is more of an American history lesson.
I found only one environmental leader willing to reject biomass and biofuels.
So we are talking of the old oil economy trying to maintain itself now through another raw material, the green planet. The only reason corn and soya is being planted for biofuel in this country is the subsidies make it profitable. I think the big crisis of our times is our minds have been manipulated to give power to illusions. We shifted to measuring growth, not in terms of how life is enriched, but in terms of how life is destroyed.
Off the cliff.
The third documentary, Kiss the Ground, is narrated by Woody Harrelson, who at the beginning says he's given up, but then proceeds to narrate by a series of examples a way to rejuvenate the soil to allow farmers to help reverse climate change. There were some interesting points made in this documentary. Firstly, around how the soil carbon cycle works, and then around how farmers used tilling and pesticides to get more product from the soil without giving anything back, so starving the land of nutrients. Then we hear about a farmer rancher who uses a multi-crop method to restore the soil and allow for grazing animals to help with this cycle.
There's so much bad news about our planet, it's overwhelming. The truth is, I've given up. This is the story of a simple solution, a way to heal our planet. The solution is right under our feet, and it's as old as dirt.
This methodology also includes a suggestion of how moving towards less intensive farming and less meat production and moving towards a plant-based diet.
It's a choice. It's an intensely personal decision. So much negativity. And who wants to live a life filled with hate?